The boy slowly extended the rope toward the wolf, tying it around its mouth to prevent it from biting. Although the boy was very hungry, he didn't kill the wolf for food. Instead, he used water to clean its wounds and then carried it into a cave. The next day, when the boy woke up, he found that the wolf had managed to untie the rope from its mouth. The wolf bared its teeth at him, but the boy slowly approached, holding water and speaking to it in human language to calm it down. The wolf's agitated emotions were soothed, and it drank the water the boy offered. This act marked the birth of humanity's first domesticated dog. The boy was the son of the tribal chief from 20,000 years ago. A few days earlier, he had joined the tribe on a hunt. Soon, someone discovered a piece of cow dung on the ground, and they excitedly smeared it on their faces to mask their human scent before crawling forward on the ground. In the distance, there were hundreds of yaks, the tribe's target for hunting. They were so hungry that when an ant crawled onto one of the tribe members' hands, the man calmly ate the ant. When the moment was right, the chief immediately gave the order to attack. The tribespeople charged forward without fear of the approaching herd of yaks, throwing their spears. One by one, the spears were thrust into the ground, forcing the herd to change direction and run toward the cliff edge. The tribespeople drove them forward, and the herd, in a panic, was unable to stop in time and plunged over the cliff. Only a few yaks at the rear managed to change direction. One of them locked eyes on the humans, specifically on Keda, the weakest among them. He turned to run but was struck and sent flying. As the yak charged again, the chief hurled his spear. It hit the beast, but too late. Keda was already knocked off the cliff. When the tribesmen reached the edge, they saw the boy lying unconscious on a rock ledge jutting out from the cliff face. The chief moved to climb down after him, but the others held him back. The boy was likely dead, they said, and the tribe couldn't afford to lose its leader too. They descended to the base of the cliff to collect the fallen yaks enough meat to last the winter, but the chief refused to give up. He called out to his son from the cliff's edge. All through the night, there was no response. At dawn, the chief built a small stone marker for his son and said his final goodbye through tears. With winter approaching, they had no choice but to return home and distribute the hunt's bounty. But the moment they left, a vulture landed on the boy's body and bit into it. But suddenly, the boy woke up. He found himself suspended halfway down a cliff. He screamed for his father, but no one answered. With his injured leg, the boy had no choice but to climb, slowly making his way toward the bottom. But the rock face was far too steep. His foot slipped, and he nearly plummeted off the edge. He could only cling desperately to a crack in the rock, his entire body dangling in midair. Just as his strength was about to give out, a bolt of lightning cracked across the sky, followed by a torrential downpour. Before long, the bottom of the cliff was flooded, and the rock face became even more slippery from the rain. By now, the boy was completely exhausted. Watching the water rise higher and higher below him, he decided to take a leap of faith and jump toward the bottom of the cliff. When the boy came to, he had been washed up by a riverbank. A sharp pain shot through his leg. It was broken. He could only drag his shattered leg toward a nearby puddle, desperately gulping down the muddy water. Then he wedged his leg between two rocks and twisted his body with all his might. Just like that, the boy reset his own broken bone. He immediately set out to find his father, but when he finally reached the mountaintop, he discovered that his tribe had long since left. All that remained was a burial mound his father had built for him. The boy was devastated. He had always lived among his people. Now, without his tribe to rely on, surviving in the wilderness would be nearly impossible. Although water was plentiful here, finding food was an entirely different challenge. When hunger became unbearable, he resorted to eating earthworms from the ground. Then a pack of wolves spotted him. Seeing that the boy was alone, they lunged at him immediately. He could only drag his broken leg and keep running, but just as he was about to climb a tree, one of the wolves clamped down on his clothing. In that critical moment, the boy drew his dagger and plunged it into the wolf, then scrambled up the tree, but the pack below refused to leave. They kept watch over him until nightfall. Left with no other option, the boy spent the night lying in the tree. When the boy woke the next morning, the pack was gone. They had abandoned the injured wolf. Seeing this, the boy tied his dagger to a stick and slowly approached the wolf. The boy raised his spear, aiming at the wounded wolf, but then the wolf slowly opened its eyes and let out a faint whimper. Seeing this, the boy's heart softened. He decided to save this wolf that had once tried to hurt him. He carried the wolf into a cave, first giving it water to drink, then gathering some insects, using part of them to treat the wolf's wounds and leaving the rest as food. The next day, the boy spotted a rabbit. This was the first time in his life he had ever killed another creature. He brought the rabbit back to the cave. The wolf perked up the moment it smelled the meat, and while the boy was starting a fire, it quietly crept over. The boy then tore off a piece of raw meat and took a big bite, asserting his dominance. The wolf got the message and obediently lay down on the ground. That night, only after the boy had eaten his fill did he toss a piece of meat to the wolf. By now, the wolf had begun to accept the boy's authority. Before long, the boy's leg wound had healed. He packed some essentials and prepared to head home. When he said goodbye to the wolf, it bit down hard on his scarf, and the boy had to struggle to get it back. He shooed the wolf away, telling it to go home, but the wolf just lay there, refusing to budge. Left with no choice, the boy set off alone. But he hadn't gone far when the wolf caught up with him, no matter how many times the boy turned around to drive it away. The wolf had clearly latched onto him and wasn't going anywhere. Suddenly, the wolf took off running into the distance. Curious, the boy followed and discovered a group of wild boars at the foot of the mountain. The wolf charged at them, driving the boars straight toward the boy, but he froze in fear and let them escape. The wolf looked at him, eyes full of contempt. The boy tried to explain that he almost had them, but the excuse fell flat. In that moment, the wolf seriously questioned whether it had chosen to follow a total loser. That night, the wolf was about to leave when the boy quickly whistled at it. As if compelled by some mysterious force, the wolf couldn't help but walk toward him whenever it heard that whistle. And just like that, the first dog in human history was born. The boy named the wolf Alpha. From then on, they hunted together. Though the boy's hunting skills were terrible, the wolf was a natural-born predator. At mealtimes, the boy would share his cooked meat with Alpha. At night, when Alpha saw the boy shivering from the cold, it would snuggle up against him, warming him with its body. In the morning, Alpha would wake the boy by licking his face, though the boy couldn't help but notice that Alpha smelled a bit ripe. He tossed Alpha into the river for a bath. Afterward, Alpha spotted fish in the water and, with perfect timing, snatched one in its jaws. From then on, the boy and Alpha searched for the way home together. As winter arrived, the land was soon blanketed in snow. Their teamwork grew more seamless with each passing day, and every hunt brought a bountiful catch. One night, as they were enjoying their meal, a black wolf slowly approached. The boy grabbed his spear and stood on guard, but Alpha walked up to the black wolf willingly. It was an old companion from its pack. Alpha looked at the boy as if asking for permission. The boy let Alpha go, knowing the pack was where it truly belonged. The boy trudged on alone through the heavy snow. As he tried to cross a frozen river, he accidentally broke through the ice. The rushing current swept him away, and no matter how hard he pounded on the ice above, he couldn't find a way out. Just then, Alpha appeared. It leaped high into the air, trying to smash through the ice, but it was no use. The boy pulled out his dagger and finally managed to chip through a thin spot. Alpha rushed over to help and pulled him out of the water. The boy then built a fire and stripped off his soaking wet clothes. Once his clothes were dry, they had no choice but to press on. That's when the boy spotted someone sitting in the distance. He ran over excitedly to call for help, but as he got closer, he saw the person's face was covered in frost, clearly frozen to death. The boy had no choice but to enter the tent alone, hoping to find some food. But with the mountains sealed off by heavy snow, there was nothing left inside. All he found was a worn-out bough. Then, out of nowhere, a blizzard struck, and with it came a pack of hyenas. The boy took off running, but the hyenas were hot on his trail. In desperation, he and Alpha ducked into a cave. Alpha fixed its gaze on the entrance while the boy drew his bow, ready to fight. Fortunately, the hyenas didn't find them, but a far greater danger was lurking within. From the depths of the cave emerged a beast, a saber-toothed tiger. It lunged at the boy, but Alpha charged forward, fighting the predator head-on. Though completely outmatched, Alpha threw itself at the tiger again and again to protect the boy. At the critical moment, the boy finally managed to take aim with his bow. The danger had passed, but Alpha collapsed to the ground, covered in wounds. The boy built a fire inside the cave and ate the tiger for dinner, but Alpha's injuries were severe. The only way to save it was to get it back to the tribe as soon as possible. The next day, they pushed on through the blizzard. The boy led the way, shielding them from the wind and snow, while Alpha fought through the pain to follow behind. Before long, they finally spotted the markers left by the tribe. Home was close, but Alpha's condition was deteriorating rapidly, and it soon collapsed on the ground, barely clinging to life. But the boy refused to give up. He lifted Alpha into his arms and kept going. Days later, through sheer willpower, the boy finally made it through the storm and back to the tribe. As the boy limped into the village, everyone stood frozen in shock. The moment he saw his people, relief washed over him, and he collapsed to the ground, completely drained. His father rushed over and held him tight, calling him a brave son. His mother stood nearby, sobbing uncontrollably. Before losing consciousness, the boy pointed to Alpha and begged his father to save it. When the boy finally woke up, the first thing he did was look at Alpha. Thankfully, it had recovered from its injuries. The tribe's shaman stroked Alpha's belly and discovered it was pregnant. Soon after, the shaman delivered a litter of wolf pups from Alpha. A year later, Alpha's pups had grown, and they lived alongside the boy in the tribe. From that day on, whenever the tribe went out to hunt, each man had a wolf by his side. They gradually became the most powerful tribe in the land. Many years later, these wolves were given a new name, the Czechoslovakian wolf dog.